Hi everyone and welcome back to 5 Minute Family Search. So now I would like to teach you how to add a child. So we're back on Felitas Nichols. So you look at his record and you say, oh my goodness, he is missing one of his children. What you can do is we're going to scroll down on this side and we're going to come down here and we're going to see his wife and all of his children listed here. So at the bottom of the children, there is this little box here that says Add Child. If you click on that box, it's going to bring you up to this page here. So what you want to do is you want to enter in a first name and a last name. You have to say if it's male or female. If it's unknown, you can check that, but when it's added in, you won't be able to do the tempo work until you distinguish whether it is a male or a female. Over here, you'll want to say living or deceased, and Family Search is really a home for deceased individuals' names, and so you would really only put it in if they were truly deceased. Here is their date of birth and their birthplace, and if you have this information, you can put it in, which we already know because we're adding a child, so we know what the father's first name and everything is, obviously, so you can just leave that all blank. What I do suggest is when you are adding people in, you want to keep your search very generic. The algorithms for the computer, if you make it very specific, it could miss information. So when I am searching for somebody, if I know their first name and their last name and their birth year and where they were born and where they died, if I have all that information, I will only put in their first name and their last name and where they were born or where they died. Because if I set it too tightly, the computer might miss it because that person could be in Family Search, but maybe the information you're typing in is just a little bit different than the information that's already there, and the computer won't realize that that is the same person. So the key to doing searching like this is to keep it very general and then to narrow it down to be more specific. Now I'm just going to make something up here and I'm just going to type in James and I'm not even going to do anything else. Well, I am. I'm going to click that he was a male and I'm going to click that he's deceased. And the reason I need to do that is you'll notice if you come down here, we're not going to be able to move past this dialog box if we don't at least mark these two things. So I'll mark him as deceased and I'm going to click next. And when I do that, it's going to bring me up to this. If I know that he is definitely not in there, I can just say create new, and that will go ahead and generate this name James and put him into Felitas's family. Now I don't want to do that because I'm making this up just to show you, so I'm not going to push that button. But I can come over here on the right, and these are all suggestions that the computer is coming up with. And so obviously there are probably going to be millions because I did a very generic name with no information. But this is what the computer thinks. And so I could sit here and go through and figure out if any of these are the James that I'm looking for. If I knew that he probably was in Family Search, or even if I didn't know if he was in Family Search, I would go through here. But like I said, I would have made it more specific. I would have put James Nichols and I would have put his birthplace as West Virginia, and then that would have narrowed it down, and I wouldn't be looking at people from Texas and New Mexico and places like that. So if you get in here and you realize, I probably could be a little more specific, you can just click Refine Search, and that's going to bring you back to that same place that we were just typing in information. And so here I could say, okay, well, let's just look for West Virginia. And I start typing and I can just click right there. It pops the information up for me, and then I would click Next. And then when I do that, it's going to bring up all of the James that died in West Virginia. And so, and actually it's supposed to, and it's not. So maybe they are not finding any that are James in West Virginia that it's pulling them up for to narrow down that search, which is okay because we're just making this up. So normally you would have information come up here and it would say where you're putting in your the state that you're talking about. Now let me go back here to refine search. So I went back here. This is where I just said to go if you wanted to put in more information to narrow it down. You can also come down here. If you know his ID number, just somehow that you have that's that unique ID number. If you have that, you could type it in right here and it's going to pull it up automatically. Then you don't have to go through all of this of name and birth and death and all of that. It's just fine by that ID number. And like I said, each person has one ID number, so that will instantly bring up the person that you were looking for. And that is how you would add a child to a family in Family Tree.